The tow company told me I had 90 minutes before the hook went on, and that was 87 minutes ago. I stood in my driveway in Tampa, Florida, staring at the aluminum ladder lying flat on the concrete, snow crusted along the rungs, while my phone buzzed with another email from Silver Lake Commons Association Management. The subject line read, "Final Notice, Delinquent Account." I had paid my HOA dues in full 3 months ago. I had the bank statement. I had the email confirmation. But Vanessa Barnes, the communications director for the board, had decided my payment never happened, and now she was holding my account hostage while claiming I owed late fees, interest, and attorney costs that did not exist. The latter was not even the real problem. It had been there for 6 hours after a contractor fixed an ice dam in my gutter, and I had texted him twice to pick it up, but a winter storm had closed half the roads in the county and he was stuck 2 jobs behind. I work HVAC. I am always on call. I moved to Tampa because my younger brother lives with me and he needs consistent care after a spinal injury left him in a wheelchair. The HOA was supposed to be low maintenance. Silver Lake Commons is an older planned neighborhood with a powerful board and longtime feuds that go back decades, and I had heard rumors about the board playing favorites, but I figured if I kept my head down and paid on time, I would be fine. I was wrong. Vanessa showed up at my door at 7 in the morning, wearing a bright red puffer coat and black earmuffs, even though it was only 42 degrees and the snow was already melting into slush. She had shoulder-length straight black hair and a clipboard with a stack of pre-filled winter sidewalk violation forms, boxes already checked. She did not knock. She rang the bell 4 times in a row, then started pounding. I opened the door and she shoved the clipboard at me. "You have an unapproved display in your driveway." I blinked. The ladder. It has been there for hours. That is a violation of Article 7, Section 3. Exterior storage of equipment visible from the street. I looked past her at the ladder. It was a standard extension ladder. My contractor had left it after clearing the ice dam. The gutter was still dripping meltwater. It is a work ladder. He is coming back to get it. I do not care. The covenant says no visible equipment. You need to remove it immediately, or I will issue a fine. She tapped the clipboard. The top form was already filled out with my address, my name, and a checkmark next to unauthorized exterior display. The date was today. The timestamp said 6:53 a.m. She had filled it out before she even knocked. I will move it when he picks it up. He is stuck on another job because of the storm. Then you move it yourself. Store it in your garage. You have 2 hours. I felt the cold air bite through my charcoal gray parka. I was wearing a gray winter beanie and I had not even had coffee yet. My brother was still asleep. I had 3 emergency calls stacked up from customers with frozen heat pumps, and I needed to be on the road in 20 minutes. I will handle it. 2 hours. If it is still visible, the fine is $250 per day. She turned and walked back to her white Lexus parked at the curb. The license plate frame said board member. I watched her drive away, then I called the contractor. He answered on the 4th ring. "Hey, I know I am coming. The roads are a mess. I have 1 more stop and then I will swing by." "How long?" "Maybe 3 hours. She gave me 2. "Who?" "The HOA. "Over a ladder?" "Yeah." "That is insane. Can you just stick it in your garage?" "I could, but I am not going to." She filled out the violation before she even talked to me. "Good luck, man. I will be there as soon as I can." I hung up and went inside. My brother was awake, transferring from bed to his chair. I helped him with the last bit and he looked at me. "What was that about?" "HOA. Ladder. She wants it gone in 2 hours." "Can you move it?" "Yeah, but it is the principal. She is doing this on purpose." "Why?" "I do not know yet." I made coffee and checked my email. The management company had sent the delinquency notice at 6:30 a.m., which meant Vanessa had probably requested it the night before. The notice listed my account as 60 days past due with an outstanding balance of $973. I clicked through to my bank records and pulled up the payment from October. It had cleared. I had the transaction number. I forwarded the proof to the management company and CC'd the board. Then I grabbed my tools and headed out for the first service call. The first call was a frozen condenser in a condo complex on the north side. The tenant was elderly and the heat had been out since midnight. I thawed the coil with a heat gun and got the system running again. Then I checked my phone. The management company had replied. The email was short. We have no record of your October payment. Please provide proof of transaction or remit payment within 5 business days to avoid lien proceedings. I stared at the screen. I had already sent the proof. The transaction number was in the body of my first email. I called the management office and got voicemail. I left a message with my address, my account number, and the transaction number again. Then I drove to the second call, which was a heat pump with a failed defrost board. By the time I finished, it was almost noon and the contractor still had not picked up the ladder. I called him again. I am on my way. 10 minutes. Vanessa gave me 2 hours. That was 4 hours ago. She cannot fine you while I am actively working the job. She already did. I got the notice in my mailbox. Seriously? Yeah. $250. Dated this morning. I will be there in 10. He showed up 15 minutes later, loaded the ladder, and drove off. I went inside and found the violation notice taped to my front door. It was printed on Silver Lake Commons letterhead with the board logo at the top. The fine amount was listed as $250 per day, with a note that said payment was due within 14 days and failure to pay would result in additional penalties and possible legal action. At the bottom, Vanessa had signed her name in blue ink and added a handwritten line. Repeat violations will result in trespass proceedings. I took a photo of the notice and emailed it to the management company with a note. Contractor retrieved the ladder at 12:15 p.m., well within reasonable time for storm delays. This fine is invalid. Please remove it from my account. The reply came back in less than an hour. All fines issued by the board are valid unless overturned by board vote. You may request a hearing at the next monthly meeting. The next meeting was 3 weeks away. I looked at my bank account. The $973 they claimed I owed would overdraft me if they tried to auto-debit it. I logged into the HOA portal and changed my payment method to manual check only. Then I printed out every email, every bank statement, and every payment confirmation I had. I put it all in a folder and I started building a timeline. That night, I got a call from the gate vendor. Silver Lake Commons has a gated entrance with a card reader and a camera system. The vendor does monthly maintenance and he knew me from a few service calls I had done in the neighborhood. He said Vanessa had called him that afternoon and asked him to pull my gate logs for the past 6 months. He wanted to know if I was okay with that. Did she say why? She said there were complaints about unauthorized guests and she needed to verify compliance. That is a lie. I have had maybe 3 guests total since I moved in. Yeah, I figured. She also asked me to flag any entries after 10 p.m. Why? She said quiet hours start at 10, and guests after that are a violation. That is not in the covenants. I read them. I know. I told her I needed board authorization in writing before I could release logs. She got mad and hung up. Thank you for calling. No problem. If she tries again, I will let you know. I hung up and I felt the pressure tighten. Vanessa was fishing. She wanted something she could use to pile on more fines, more violations, more leverage. I opened the covenant PDF and I searched for guest, visitor, quiet hours, and entry. Nothing. There was no rule about guests after 10. There was no rule about how many guests you could have. There was a noise ordinance that said no amplified sound after 11. But that was it. I took a screenshot of the relevant section and I saved it. The next morning, I got another email from the management company. The subject line was, Account Update. Inside, there was a new line item. Legal consultation fee. Unauthorized exterior display dispute. Billed by board counsel. Amount, $425. I called the management office again. This time, someone picked up. Silver Lake Commons Management. This is Jessica. This is Unit 214. I just got an email saying I owe $425 for legal consultation. I never requested legal consultation. The board issued a bogus fine, and I disputed it. Why am I being billed for their attorney? Let me pull your account. Hold, please. I waited. I could hear keyboard clicks. Okay, I see the charge. It was added yesterday by the board. It looks like it is related to the exterior display violation. I disputed that violation. The contractor picked up the ladder the same day. The fine is invalid. The board has the authority to assess legal fees if they consult counsel regarding a violation. I did not ask them to consult counsel. They just did it, and billed me. You will need to take that up with the board. I just processed the invoices. Who is the attorney? Hold on. It says Miller and Associates. Can I get a copy of the invoice? You would need to request that from the board. How? You can submit a records request in writing. How long does that take? Up to 30 days. I thanked her and hung up. Then I Googled Miller and Associates. The firm specialized in HOA enforcement and collections. Their website had a page about lien acceleration and foreclosure timelines. I felt my chest tighten. I called my buddy Derek, who used to work for a different management company in Clearwater before he quit over ethical concerns. He picked up on the second ring. Hey, what is up? I need your brain. My HOA is adding legal fees to my account without authorization. Can they do that? Depends. Did you sign anything when you closed that gave the board blanket authority to bill you for attorney costs? I do not think so. Let me check. I pulled up my closing documents and I searched for attorney, legal, counsel. There was a standard clause that said the association could recover costs if they had to take me to court and they won, but nothing about billing me for consultations before any hearing or lawsuit. It says they can recover costs if they win a lawsuit. That is it. Then they cannot just add fees because they feel like it. If you did not authorize it, and there is no judgment, it is probably bogus. That is what I thought. But the management company is processing it anyway. Management companies do what the board tells them. If the board says bill it, they bill it. You need to challenge it in writing and demand they remove it. I already disputed the original fine. Dispute the legal fee separately. Make it clear you did not request counsel and you do not consent to the charge. CC the management company and the board. If they ignore you, file a complaint with the state. Okay. Thanks. Who is running this board? Woman named Vanessa Barnes. She is the communications director. Never heard of her, but if she is adding fees without votes, she is either ignorant or she is running a scam. Either way, document everything. I hung up and I drafted the dispute letter. I kept it short. I stated the facts. I attached my bank statement showing the October payment. I attached the covenant section that said legal fees required a judgment. I demanded the fee be removed within 48 hours. I sent it to the management company, the board email, and Vanessa directly. Then I went back to work. That afternoon, I got a reply from Vanessa. The subject line was dispute letter. Your October payment was applied to a different account due to a clerical error. We are working to resolve it. In the meantime, your account remains delinquent and all associated fees are valid. The legal consultation was necessary because you disputed a legitimate violation. The board has the authority to consult counsel at its discretion. If you continue to dispute valid charges, we will proceed with lien filing. I read it twice. She was admitting the payment went to the wrong account, but she was still calling me delinquent. She was saying the legal fee was valid because I disputed the latter fine, which meant disputing any fine triggered an automatic attorney bill. I forwarded the email to Derek. That is insane. She just admitted they misapplied your payment and she is still threatening a lien. Save that email. That is evidence. Evidence of what? Abuse of process. If she is adding fees every time you dispute something, that is retaliation. If she is threatening liens while admitting the payment error is their fault, that is bad faith. You need to get this in front of the full board. The next meeting is 3 weeks out. Request a special hearing. The bylaws probably allow it for billing disputes. I will try. I drafted another email and I requested a special hearing under the dispute resolution section of the bylaws. I cited the clerical error, the invalid fine, and the unauthorized legal fee. I asked for a hearing within 7 days. I sent it at 4 p.m. Vanessa replied at 4:12. Special hearings require board approval. The board meets next on the 18th. Your request will be considered at that time. 3 weeks. I looked at my calendar. The tow company deadline was today. The legal fee was due in 2 weeks. If Vanessa pushed this to a lien, my brother and I would have a crisis. I could not risk the gate being shut off or a vehicle booted in the middle of a service call. I needed leverage, and I needed it fast. I called Derek again. She denied the special hearing. She is stalling. Of course she is. She knows if you get in front of the full board, they might side with you. She wants to bury you in fees first. What do I do? You need to go around her. Find another board member. Find someone who is not in her pocket. Get them to call the hearing. I do not even know who else is on the board. Check the annual report. It is public record. The management company has to file it with the state. I pulled up the state corporate registry and I found Silver Lake Commons Association. The most recent annual report listed 5 board members: Vanessa Barnes, Communications Director; Michael Trent, President; Susan Kowalski, Treasurer; David Huang, Secretary; and 1 vacant seat. I Googled Michael Trent and found a LinkedIn profile. He was a retired banker. I found his address in the neighborhood directory and I decided to take a chance. I drove over at 6 p.m. Michael lived 4 streets away in a 2-story colonial with a brick facade and a driveway that had been plowed clean. I rang the bell and he answered in a cardigan and slippers. He was maybe 70, with white hair and wire-rimmed glasses. Can I help you? My name is Alex Brennan. I live on Cypress Lane. I need to talk to you about a billing issue with the association. You should contact management. I did. They referred me to the board. Vanessa Barnes denied my request for a special hearing. I am being charged for fees I did not authorize and my payment was misapplied. I am about to get hit with a lien and I need the board to review this before it goes any further. What kind of fees? Legal consultation. $425. I disputed a ladder fine and she billed me for the board attorney. Did you have a hearing? No. She issued the fine the same day. She added the legal fee the next day. I have emails showing the whole thing. Come in. I followed him into a living room with dark wood furniture and a gas fireplace. He sat down in a recliner and waved me to the couch. I handed him my phone with the email thread pulled up. He read through it slowly, scrolling with one finger. When he got to Vanessa's reply about the clerical error, he stopped. She admitted the payment was misapplied? Yeah. But she is still calling me delinquent. That is not how it works. If we made the error, we correct it and we waive the late fees. We do not threaten liens. She also told me the legal fee is valid because I disputed the fine. That is not policy. We only bill legal fees if we go to court and we win. We do not bill for internal disputes. Can you call a special hearing? I can bring it up with the board. But Vanessa controls the email blasts and the meeting notices. If she does not want a hearing, she will delay it. Is there any way around her? I can call Susan and David directly. If 2 other board members agree, we have a quorum and we can override her. Would you do that? Let me make some calls. Give me your email. I will get back to you tonight. I gave him my contact info and I left. I felt a small crack of hope. If Michael could rally the other board members, I might get a hearing before the lien deadline. I drove home and I checked the mailbox. There was a new envelope from Silver Lake Commons. Inside was a single sheet of paper. Notice of trespass warning. Effective immediately, you are prohibited from using the community park, pool, and common areas pending resolution of account delinquency. Violation of this notice will result in police involvement and possible criminal trespass charges. It was signed by Vanessa. I stood in the driveway holding the paper, snow melting under my boots, and I felt the anger rise. She was escalating. She was trying to isolate me, humiliate me, and force me to pay fees I did not owe. I took a photo of the notice and I sent it to Derek. That is retaliation. She is using access restrictions as punishment. Save that. That is huge. Can she actually do this? Technically, boards can restrict access for delinquent accounts, but only after a hearing and a vote. If she is doing it unilaterally, it is probably illegal. Check your bylaws. I checked. The bylaws said common area restrictions required a majority board vote and written notice with a 10-day cure period. Vanessa had skipped both. I added the trespass notice to my folder, and I waited for Michael to call. He called at 8:30. I talked to Susan and David. They both agree this sounds wrong. We are going to hold a special session tomorrow night at my place. Informal, but official. Bring your documents. Will Vanessa be there? I have to invite her. She is on the board. But this is not her show. Okay. Thank you. See you at 7. I hung up and I told my brother. He was in the living room watching a game. You think they will side with you? I do not know. But at least I will get to say my piece. What if they do not? Then I get an attorney and I fight it for real. That is expensive. I know. I did not sleep much that night. I kept running through the arguments in my head. I kept checking my email in case Vanessa sent something new. At 6 a.m. my phone buzzed. It was an email from the management company. Your account has been flagged for auto lien filing due to non-payment. If payment is not received within 48 hours, a lien will be recorded against your property and forwarded to our collections attorney. 48 hours. I looked at the timestamp. The email had been sent at 5:53 a.m. I called Derek. They are trying to rush you. They want you to panic and pay before the hearing. What do I do? Go to the hearing tonight. Bring everything. If the board sides with you, they can stop the lien. If they do not, you file an injunction in the morning. An injunction? Yeah. You go to county court and you ask a judge to freeze the lien until the dispute is resolved. It costs a filing fee, but it stops them cold. How much? Maybe $400, depending on the county. Okay. I will do it if I have to. I spent the day on service calls, but my head was somewhere else. I kept thinking about the hearing. I kept thinking about what Vanessa would say. At 6:30 I drove to Michael's house. Susan and David were already there. Susan was a thin woman in her 60s with short gray hair and a navy blue fleece. David was younger, maybe 50, with dark hair and a dress shirt under a sweater. Vanessa arrived 10 minutes late. She walked in wearing the same bright red puffer coat and black earmuffs, even though we were indoors. She sat down in a chair by the fireplace and she crossed her arms. Thanks for coming, everyone. We are here to discuss a billing dispute involving Unit 214. Alex, go ahead. I opened my folder and I walked them through it. I showed the bank statement with the October payment. I showed the management company email admitting the clerical error. I showed the latter fine issued the same day without any notice or hearing. I showed the legal fee added the next day. I showed the trespass warning issued without a vote. I kept my voice calm, and I stuck to the facts. When I finished, Michael looked at Vanessa. Vanessa, can you explain the legal fee? We consulted Miller and Associates because Alex disputed a valid fine. The covenant allows us to recover costs. Only if we go to court and we win. We did not go to court. The consultation was necessary to determine our legal standing. That is not what the covenant says. We do not bill residents for internal consultations. That comes out of the general fund. The general fund does not cover individual disputes. Actually, it does. I reviewed the budget last quarter. Legal fees for covenant enforcement are a line item. We have already allocated funds for that. Susan spoke up. Her voice was quiet but firm. Vanessa turned to her. This is different. Alex is being combative. He threatened to sue. I never said that. You disputed a valid fine. That is a threat. Disputing a fine is not a threat. It is my right. You are twisting the rules to avoid accountability. You issued the fine before you even talked to me. You filled out the form at 6:53 a.m. and you did not knock until 7. I observed the violation earlier. The ladder was not there earlier. The contractor did not finish until 6:40. That is not what I saw. Then, you are lying. Vanessa stood up. Her face was red. I am the board, so yes, it is personal. I do not have to sit here and be accused of lying. Vanessa, sit down. We are not done. I do not answer to you, Michael. I answer to the community. You answer to the board. And right now the board is asking you to explain why you issued a trespass warning without a vote. The bylaws give me authority to restrict access for delinquent accounts. Only after a hearing and a vote. You skipped both. David was reading from his phone. He had the bylaws pulled up. Vanessa glared at him. The account is delinquent. The payment was not received. Because you applied it to the wrong account. Jessica confirmed that. That is a management issue. I do not control their records. But you control the enforcement. And you issued the trespass warning the same day Alex sent his dispute. That looks like retaliation. It is not retaliation. It is policy. It is not policy. I have been treasurer for 4 years, and we have never restricted access without a vote. Vanessa looked at Susan, then at Michael, then at me. Her jaw was tight. Fine. I will rescind the trespass warning. But the fine stands. And the legal fee stands. If Alex wants to dispute them, he can wait for the regular meeting. We are voting tonight. Susan, do you move to remove the legal fee? I move to remove it. I second. All in favor? Michael, Susan, and David raised their hands. Vanessa did not move. Motion passes. The legal fee is removed. Now the ladder fine. Susan, do you move to remove that as well? I move to remove it. The contractor retrieved the ladder the same day, and the violation was not issued with proper notice. I second. All in favor? 3 hands again. Vanessa stood up. This is a joke. You are letting him walk all over the rules because he cried about a ladder. We are following the bylaws. You did not. I can get your guests banned. I can get your vendors flagged. I can make life very difficult for anyone who crosses me. And I will. She walked out. The door slammed. Michael sighed. I apologize for that. She has been getting worse. How long has she been on the board? 3 years. She ran unopposed. Nobody wanted the job. She has been adding fees like this for months. Small amounts. Most people just pay and move on. Why has no one challenged her? Because she controls the email list. If you complain, she floods the neighborhood with a message saying you are a problem resident. People do not want the drama. That is insane. I know. But we are stuck with her until the next election, and she is already lining up people to vote her way. I thanked them, and I left. I got in my truck, and I sat there for a minute, engine running, heat blasting. I had won the dispute, but I knew Vanessa was not done. She had threatened retaliation in front of witnesses. She had walked out of a board meeting because she did not get her way. I needed to be ready for the next move. The next move came 2 days later. I got an email from the management company with a new subject line. Notice of rules violation, unauthorized common area use. I opened it. The email said I had been observed using the community park walking path on January 14th at 9:30 p.m. in violation of the new quiet hours policy that prohibited common area use after 10 p.m. The fine was $150. I read it again. January 14th was yesterday. I had not used the walking path. I had been home all night with my brother watching a movie, and there was no quiet hours policy for common areas. I checked the covenant again. Nothing. I replied to the email. I was not in the park on January 14th. I was home all evening. Please provide evidence of this alleged violation. Also, please cite the covenant section that prohibits common area use after 10 p.m., because I cannot find it. The reply came in 30 minutes. The quiet hours policy was adopted by board resolution on January 10th. Residents were notified via email blast. Violation was observed by board member on routine patrol. Evidence is on file. I checked my inbox. There was no email blast about quiet hours. I checked my spam folder. Nothing. I called Michael. I never voted on a quiet hours policy. Vanessa says it was adopted on January 10th. We did not meet on January 10th. Our last meeting was December 20th. Then how did she adopt it? She did not. She made it up. Can she do that? No. Any new policy requires a board vote and 30 days notice to residents. She is fabricating rules. What do I do? Dispute it in writing. Demand proof of the vote. I will back you up. I sent the dispute. I demanded the meeting minutes showing the vote. I demanded the email blast showing the notice. I gave them 24 hours. Vanessa replied in 6. Board resolutions are not subject to resident review. Your dispute is denied. Payment is due within 10 days. I forwarded it to Derek. She just admitted she is making up rules. That is fraud. You need to file a complaint with the State Division of Corporations. They regulate HOAs. If she is inventing policies and fining people, that is a violation of the statute. How long does that take? Months. But it puts her on notice, and if you end up in court, it shows you tried to resolve it through proper channels. Okay. I will file it. I went to the state website and I filled out the complaint form. I attached the emails. I attached the bylaws. I listed every bogus charge. I hit submit and I got a confirmation number. Then I went back to work. That weekend, the management company started misfiling my emails. Every message I sent to my account went to a different unit number. I would send a payment question and I would get an auto reply saying the address did not match their records. I called Jessica. I am seeing the same thing. Your emails are routing to unit 414 instead of 214. Why? I do not know. It looks like a system error. I will try to fix it. How long? Maybe a few days. In the meantime, you can call if you need anything. Vanessa is adding fees faster than I can dispute them. I cannot wait a few days. I understand, but I do not control the email system. That is handled by the board. I hung up. I knew it was not a system error. Vanessa had access to the management portal. She was rerouting my emails so I could not build a paper trail. I needed a workaround. I started CCing Michael on every message. If Vanessa wanted to bury me, she would have to bury him too. Monday morning, I got a call from the gate vendor. Hey, Vanessa just called me again. She wants me to come out today and pull your gate logs. She says the board authorized it. Did Michael authorize it? She did not mention Michael. She just said the board. Do not give her anything unless you get it in writing from the president. That is what I told her. She got loud. She said I was obstructing board business. She is lying. The board did not vote on it. I figured. I am not giving her anything. I thanked him, and I called Michael. She did not ask me. I will send the vendor an email saying no logs get released without my signature. She is going after the gate records because she wants to prove I had guests after 10. Even if you did, there is no rule against it. She is inventing violations. I know. But if she gets the logs, she will twist them. I will handle it. Just keep documenting. I kept documenting. I printed every email. I logged every phone call. I took photos of every notice. I had a folder that was now 2 inches thick. And I had something else. I had been waiting for the right moment to use it, because the reveal needed witnesses. I had found something in the management company invoice trail that Vanessa did not know I had. Derek had given me a contact at the county property appraiser's office. HOA financial records are public if you know how to ask. I had requested the last 2 years of invoices from Miller and Associates, the law firm Vanessa kept billing residents for. The records showed a pattern. Every time someone disputed a fine, a legal consultation fee appeared on their account. But the invoices from Miller and Associates did not match. The firm had billed the HOA general fund for routine covenant questions, not individual disputes. Vanessa had been taking general fund legal costs and reallocating them to individual accounts without authorization. She was double billing. She was pocketing the difference, or she was inflating the budget to justify higher dues. Either way, it was fraud. I had the invoices. I had the account ledgers. I had the email where she admitted the legal fee was for my dispute. I was holding it until the next board meeting, because I wanted the full board and the management company in the room when I dropped it. Michael had told me the regular meeting was on the 18th, and it was open to residents. I marked my calendar. On the 15th, I got a voicemail from the tow company. The message was short. We have a contract with Silver Lake Commons to remove unauthorized vehicles. Your truck has been flagged for towing due to delinquent account status. We will be on site tomorrow at noon. If you want to avoid towing, contact the HOA management office before then. I called the number back. A dispatcher answered. Metro Towing. I just got a voicemail saying my truck is flagged for towing. I live here. My account is not delinquent. This is a billing dispute. We do not handle disputes. We go by what the HOA tells us. If they say tow, we tow. I am telling you the HOA is wrong. I have proof. You need to work that out with them. We will be there at noon tomorrow. If the flag is still active, the truck gets hooked. How much to get it back? $350 for the tow, plus $85 per day storage. I am not paying that. Then, you need to get the HOA to cancel the flag. I hung up and I called Michael. She did not tell me she was doing this. Can you cancel it? I can try. Let me call the management company. He called me back 20 minutes later. Jessica says Vanessa submitted the tow request this morning. It is in the system. I told her to cancel it, but she says only Vanessa can cancel it because she is the one who submitted it. That is insane. I know. I am calling Vanessa now. I waited. I paced my living room. My brother watched from the couch. What happens if they tow it? I lose my work truck. I cannot do service calls. I cannot make money. We are done. Can you park somewhere else? Where? I live here. I pay for this spot. Park at my work? Your work is 20 minutes away. I have emergency calls. I need the truck here. Michael called back. She is not answering. I left a message. I also emailed her and I CC'd the management company. I told them if that truck gets towed, I am calling an emergency board meeting and I am moving to remove her. Will that stop the tow? I do not know. But I am trying. I hung up. I had 12 hours. I called Derek. Park the truck off property tonight. Move it back in the morning after the tow window passes. She will just flag it again. Probably. But it buys you time until the meeting. The meeting is 3 days away. Then you move it every night for 3 days. It is a pain, but it is cheaper than $350 plus storage. I hated it, but he was right. I told my brother I was moving the truck. I drove it to a public lot near the grocery store and I walked back in the slush. My boots were soaked by the time I got home. I set an alarm for 6 a.m. so I could move it back before the tow company arrived. The next morning, I drove the truck back at 6:15. The tow truck was already there. It was parked at the curb with the amber lights flashing. The driver was standing beside my driveway with a clipboard. I pulled in and I got out. That is my truck. I live here. You are on the tow list. The list is wrong. This is a billing dispute. I am current on my dues. I just go by what the HOA sends. Your plate is on the list. Who sent the list? Management company. They send it every week. Can I see it? No. It is internal. I am telling you I am not delinquent. I have proof. You need to work that out with them. I am just doing my job. I heard a door slam. Vanessa was walking across the street from the visitor lot. She had her phone out and she was filming. He is refusing to comply with a valid tow order. I want this on record. There is no valid tow order. You made it up. The account is delinquent. The management company confirmed it. The management company misapplied my payment and you know it. Michael voted to remove the fees. This is retaliation. Michael does not speak for the board. I do. Look, I do not want to be in the middle of this. If you two cannot sort it out, I am hooking the truck, and you can fight about it later. If you hook that truck, I am calling the police, and I am filing a theft report. It is not theft. It is an HOA tow. It is theft if the tow order is fraudulent. The driver looked at Vanessa. She lowered her phone. The order is valid. Hook it. I need something in writing from the HOA president before I hook a truck when the owner is standing here disputing it. I am a board member. I am giving you authorization. I need the president. Vanessa turned red. She started dialing her phone. I pulled out mine and I called Michael. He answered on the first ring. What is happening? Vanessa is trying to tow my truck right now. The driver is here. She is calling someone. Can you call the management company and cancel the tow order? I already did. I emailed Jessica at 6 a.m. and I told her to remove you from the list. The driver says he got the list from management and I am still on it. Hold on. I heard him typing. Vanessa was talking on her phone, her back turned. The tow driver was standing by his truck, arms folded. Michael came back. Jessica says the list went out last night before my email. She cannot update it until the next cycle. When is that? Next Monday. That is 6 days. She is going to try again. I am going to call the tow company directly. Give me the driver's number. I asked the driver. He gave me the dispatch number. I relayed it to Michael. He hung up. I stood there watching Vanessa. She finished her call and she walked over. The management company confirms the tow order is active. Hook it. I just got a call from my dispatcher. The HOA president is on the phone. He says cancel the tow. I am a board member. I outrank him on enforcement. No, you do not. He is the president. I am not hooking anything without his signature. Vanessa looked at me. Her face was tight. You think you won. You did not. I will bury you in fines until you beg to sell. You already tried. The board voted against you. The board does not matter. I control the emails. I control the vendors. I control the narrative. You are done. She walked back to her car. The tow driver shook his head. Good luck, man. That lady is crazy. Thanks for waiting. No problem. But next time, get it in writing before I show up. I do not get paid to referee. He drove off. I went inside and I updated my folder. I wrote down everything Vanessa had said. I wrote down the driver's reaction. I wrote down the timestamps. I had 3 days until the board meeting and I was ready to end this. The morning of the meeting, I got another email from the management company. This one had an attachment. The subject line said account summary. I opened the PDF. It listed every charge Vanessa had added over the past 2 weeks, including the ones the board had voted to remove. The total was now $1,460. At the bottom, there was a note. Payment plan available upon request. Contact management for terms. I replied immediately. The board voted to remove the latter fine and the legal fee. Why are they still on my account? Jessica replied, "We have not received minutes from that meeting. Until we do, all charges remain active." I called Michael. "I sent the minutes to Jessica on the 16th. Let me forward them to you." He sent the email. I forwarded it to Jessica with a note. "Michael sent these 2 days ago. Please update my account immediately." She replied, "We show no record of receiving these minutes. Please have the board president resend them directly to our billing department." I forwarded the whole chain to Derek. "They are stalling. Vanessa probably told them to sit on the updates. You need to bring this up at the meeting tonight and demand they correct it in front of witnesses." "I am planning on it." "Good. And bring the invoice trail. If you are going to drop the hammer, do it when she cannot run." I printed the invoices. I printed the ledgers. I printed the emails. I put everything in a binder with tabs. I practiced my opening in the truck on the way to the meeting. The meeting was at the Community Park Pavilion, a covered slab with picnic tables and a stone fireplace that the neighborhood used for events. It was snowing lightly when I arrived. There were maybe 20 residents already there, sitting on folding chairs. Michael was at the front with Susan and David. Vanessa was standing by the fireplace, talking to a woman in a gray coat. I recognized her from the directory. She was the new board candidate Vanessa was backing. I sat in the third row. Michael called the meeting to order at 7. He went through the standard agenda: budget updates, landscaping bids, pool maintenance. Then he got to new business. "We have a resident dispute on the agenda. Alex Brennan, Unit 214. Alex, you have the floor." I stood up and I walked to the front. I opened the binder. I kept my voice steady. "My name is Alex Brennan. I live on Cypress Lane. Over the past 2 weeks, the board has added over $1,400 in fines and fees to my account, most of which are invalid. I have disputed every charge in writing. The board voted to remove 2 of the charges, but the management company has not updated my account. I have also been issued a trespass warning without a hearing, threatened with a lien despite proof of payment, and subjected to a tow order that was canceled only after I contacted the board president directly. All of this has been done by one board member acting alone, without votes, without hearings, and without following the bylaws. I am here to ask the board to correct my account, remove all invalid charges, and take action to prevent this from happening to other residents." I paused. I looked at Vanessa. She was staring at me with her arms crossed. I continued. "I also have evidence that the legal fees being charged to residents do not match the invoices from the law firm. I have copies of the invoices from Miller and Associates showing that the firm billed the general fund for routine covenant questions, not individual disputes. But residents are being charged as if the consultations were specific to their cases. That is fraud." I held up the binder. Vanessa stepped forward. "That is privileged information. You do not have authorization to access board financial records. They are public records. I got them from the county. You are misrepresenting the invoices. The legal fees are legitimate. Then explain why the invoice dated January 5th says General Covenant Consultation and the charge on my account says Legal Fee Individual Dispute Resolution." I turned the binder around and I showed the page to Michael. He took it and he read it. His face changed. "Vanessa, did you reallocate general fund legal costs to individual accounts?" I categorized them correctly. Some consultations were related to specific disputes. But the firm did not bill them that way. They billed the general fund. That is an accounting issue. No, it is not. If the firm billed the general fund, we cannot charge residents for it. That is double billing. I am the communications director. I have the authority to manage billing communications. You do not have the authority to create charges. Only the board can do that. The board authorized me to handle violations. We authorized you to send notices. We did not authorize you to add fees without votes. Vanessa looked at the crowd. A few people were whispering. A man in the front row raised his hand. I got hit with a legal fee last year. I paid it because I thought I had to. Are you saying it was fake? We need to review all the accounts. If there are charges that were not authorized, we need to refund them. That is ridiculous. We do not have the budget for that. We have the budget. I am the treasurer. I know what we have. If you added fees that were not valid, we fix it. Vanessa turned to me. Her voice was low and sharp. You are going to regret this. You said you could get my guests banned. You said you could make life difficult. You already tried. It did not work. I am the board, so yes, it is personal. And I am not done. Michael stood up. Vanessa, you are out of line. We are voting tonight to remove all unauthorized charges from Alex's account and to suspend your authority to issue fines pending a full audit of the billing records. You cannot do that. Watch me. Susan, do you move? I move to remove all charges from Unit 214 that were added without board votes, and to suspend Vanessa Barnes from issuing fines or adding fees until the audit is complete. I second. All in favor? Michael, Susan, and David raised their hands. Vanessa did not move. Michael looked at her. The motion passes. You are suspended from enforcement duties effective immediately. If you issue any new fines or fees, they will be void, and we will consider removal proceedings. You are making a huge mistake. I have support in this community. I have people who trust me. Then let them vote. The election is in April. Until then, you follow the rules like everyone else. Vanessa grabbed her coat, and she walked out. The pavilion was silent. Then the man in the front row started clapping. A few other people joined. I sat down. My hands were shaking. Michael looked at me. We will get your account fixed. I am sorry this happened. Thank you. And thank you for bringing the invoices. We are going to audit every account. If she did this to you, she did it to others. I nodded. I left the meeting and I walked to my truck. The snow was coming down harder now, big flakes sticking to the windshield. I sat in the cab and I let the heat run. I felt the weight lift. I had won. But I knew Vanessa would not let it go. She did not let it go. 2 days later, I got a certified letter. It was from Miller and Associates. The letter said the board had authorized them to represent the association in a collections matter involving my account, and that I owed $2,175 in past due fees, fines, and legal costs. If I did not pay within 10 days, they would file a lien and begin foreclosure proceedings. I read it 3 times. The amount had doubled. I called Michael. I never authorized that. Let me call Susan and David. He called me back in an hour. We checked the board email. Vanessa sent a message to Miller and Associates on the 19th, the day after the meeting. She told them the board had voted to pursue collections against you. She signed it as communications director and she copied the management company. She did not copy me, Susan, or David. Can she do that? No. She is suspended. She has no authority. I am calling the law firm now. He called the firm. He told them Vanessa was suspended and the board had not authorized any collections action. The firm said they would put the matter on hold pending clarification from the full board. Michael sent them a letter confirming Vanessa's suspension and directing them to cease all activity. Then he called me back. It is handled. They are backing off. But we need to move faster on the audit. If she did this to you, she is doing it to others, and if people start paying these fake fees, it is going to be a nightmare to unwind. How long will the audit take? Susan is pulling all the billing records tonight. She is going to cross-check every legal fee against the firm invoices. If there are discrepancies, we will send refunds. What about Vanessa? We are meeting Monday to discuss removal. If the audit shows fraud, we are voting her off the board and we are reporting her to the state. I felt a flicker of relief, but I knew it was not over. Vanessa still had access to the email system. She still had the vendor contacts. She still had 3 days to cause damage before the Monday vote. She used those 3 days. On Friday, I got a call from my neighbor 2 doors down. Her name was Rita, and she had lived in Silver Lake Commons for 15 years. She had a Ring doorbell, and she had been keeping an eye on my place ever since the ladder incident. Alex, I think you need to see this. Vanessa was at your mailbox this morning. She was taking pictures. Of what? Your mailbox. The snow on your driveway. She had a clipboard. She was writing something down. Did she touch anything? I do not think so. But she was there for like 10 minutes. I have it on video. Can you send it to me? Yeah. I will email it. She sent the video 5 minutes later. I watched it on my phone. Vanessa was standing at the mailbox cluster photographing my driveway from 3 different angles. She was writing on the clipboard. She was measuring something with a tape measure. Then she walked up my driveway and she took a close-up photo of the gutter where the ice dam had been. I saved the video and I called Michael. She is building a new case. She is going to hit you with something at the meeting Monday and try to make you look bad before we vote. What can she hit me with? The ladder is gone. My account is frozen. She has nothing. She will make something up. She always does. Just be ready. I was ready. I spent the weekend organizing my evidence. I had the bank statements. I had the emails. I had the invoices. I had Rita's video. I had the gate vendor's statement. I had the tow company dispatch log. I had everything I needed to prove Vanessa had been abusing her authority, retaliating against disputes, and fabricating charges. But I also had something she did not know about. I had a witness. Derek had given me the name of a former management company employee who had worked with Silver Lake Commons 2 years ago. Her name was Maria, and she had quit after Vanessa pressured her to backdate violation notices. I had called Maria on Saturday, and I had asked her if she would be willing to give a statement. She said yes. She said she had been waiting for someone to challenge Vanessa because she knew the board was either ignorant or complicit, and she wanted the truth to come out. She agreed to attend the Monday meeting and to speak if I needed her. Monday came. The meeting was at 7. I arrived at 6:45. The pavilion was more crowded than usual. Word had spread. People wanted to see what would happen. I sat in the second row. Maria was in the back, wearing a black coat and a scarf. She gave me a small nod. Vanessa arrived at 7 on the dot. She was carrying a leather portfolio, and she looked calm. Too calm. Michael called the meeting to order. First item is the audit report. Susan, go ahead. I reviewed all billing records for the past 18 months. I cross-checked every legal fee against the invoices from Miller and Associates. I found 32 instances where residents were charged for legal consultations that were actually billed to the general fund. The total amount incorrectly charged to residents is $17,200. The pavilion erupted. People were talking over each other. A woman in the 4th row stood up. I paid a legal fee last spring. Are you saying it was fake? If it was related to a violation dispute and there was no lawsuit, yes, we will be issuing refunds. How do I know I will get mine? We are sending letters this week. If you were overcharged, you will get a check. Another man raised his hand. Who added these fees? The charges were submitted by the communications director. Everyone looked at Vanessa. She opened her portfolio and she pulled out a stack of papers. I have documentation showing that every fee was approved by board resolution. The audit is incomplete because it does not account for verbal authorizations given during executive sessions. We do not do verbal authorizations. Every vote is recorded in the minutes. Not if the vote happens in executive session. Those minutes are confidential. We have not held an executive session in over a year. I am the secretary. I would know. You were not present for the sessions I am referring to. Then, they were not valid. Executive sessions require a quorum, that is 3 board members minimum. If I was not there, you did not have a quorum. Vanessa's face tightened. She flipped through her papers. I have notes from the sessions. I can provide them. Notes are not minutes. Minutes require a vote and a record. If you do not have that, the votes did not happen. I raised my hand. Michael nodded at me. I have something to add. Go ahead. I requested records from the county, and I found a pattern. Every legal fee charged to residents was actually billed to the general fund by Miller and Associates. The firm sent invoices for general covenant questions, and those invoices were paid out of the HOA operating account. But then the same costs were reallocated to individual resident accounts as dispute fees. That means the association paid once, and residents paid again. That is double billing. And it is fraud. I held up the binder. I opened it to the tabbed section with the highlighted invoices. I walked it over to Michael. He read the first page, then the second. His expression hardened. He looked at Vanessa. Did you reallocate general fund costs to resident accounts? I categorized them appropriately. Some consultations were related to specific disputes, so I allocated the costs accordingly. But the firm did not bill them that way. They billed the general fund. You cannot take a general expense and charge it to a resident without a board vote. I have the authority to manage billing communications. You have the authority to send bills. You do not have the authority to create them. Susan stood up. I moved to refer this matter to our attorney for investigation, and to suspend Vanessa Barnes from all board duties pending the outcome. I second. All in favor? 3 hands. Vanessa slammed her portfolio on the table. You are railroading me. This is a coup. I have done nothing wrong. The vote is 3-1. You are suspended. Please surrender your board email access and your keys to the clubhouse. I am not surrendering anything. I was elected. You cannot remove me without a membership vote. We are not removing you. We are suspending you pending investigation. If the investigation clears you, you are reinstated. If it does not, we will call a special election. This is because of him. She pointed at me. Her hand was shaking. He came in here with fake documents and a sob story, and you all fell for it. He is playing you. The documents are not fake. I got them from the county property appraiser. You can verify them yourself. I do not have to verify anything. I know what I did, and I know it was legal. Then you will have no problem cooperating with the investigation. Vanessa grabbed her portfolio. She looked at the crowd. You are all going to regret this. I have emails. I have records. I have proof that this board has been operating without a quorum for 6 months. Every vote you have taken is invalid. Every fine, every fee, every rule change. All of it. She walked out. The pavilion went silent. Michael looked at David. What is she talking about? I do not know. We have had a quorum at every meeting. Check the attendance logs. David pulled out his phone and he opened the board-shared drive. He scrolled through the meeting minutes. His face went pale. Oh no. What? The November meeting. We only had 3 people, me, Susan, and Vanessa. You were out of town and the 5th seat was vacant. 3 is a quorum. Not if one of us had a conflict of interest. I checked the votes. We approved a landscaping contract that month. The vendor was Vanessa's brother-in-law. If she had a conflict, she should have recused herself. If she did not, the vote was invalid. Did she disclose the conflict? No. I did not even know they were related until last week. Then the contract vote is invalid. What else did we vote on that night? 2 fines. 1 rules update. And the budget for snow removal. If the meeting was invalid, all of those are void. I leaned forward. What about the fines? They would be void too. Were any of those fines issued by Vanessa? Let me check. He scrolled. He stopped. Yeah, both of them. One was for a holiday decoration. One was for a trash can left out overnight. If the votes are void, those residents got fined illegally. We need to refund them, and we need to revote everything from that meeting. Agreed. But first we need to verify the conflict. David, can you pull the vendor contract? David opened his laptop. He pulled up the contract file. He clicked through to the vendor registration form. The signature at the bottom said James Calloway. David Googled the name. The first result was a Facebook profile. The profile photo showed a man standing next to Vanessa at a wedding. The caption said, "Congrats to my sister-in-law, Vanessa." There it is. She voted on a contract for her brother-in-law, and she did not disclose it. That is a violation of the conflict of interest policy. She is done. Michael looked at me. Alex, I am sorry. This is worse than we thought. We are going to fix it, but it is going to take time. What about my account? We are clearing it tonight. You do not owe anything. And we are sending a letter to the management company telling them to stop processing any charges submitted by Vanessa. Thank you. Thank you. If you had not pushed this, we would never have found it. I left the meeting and I drove home. I felt lighter. I felt like I could breathe. But I also knew Vanessa was not going to walk away quietly. She had just been exposed in front of the whole neighborhood. She had lost her authority. She had lost her credibility. And she had threatened to bury me. People like that do not go gentle. The retaliation came on Wednesday. I got a call from the County Code Enforcement Office. The inspector said they had received a complaint about my property. Alleged violations included an unpermitted fence repair, an illegal driveway extension, and a non-compliant exterior lighting installation. None of it was true. I did not have a fence. My driveway was original to the house. My exterior lights were standard builder-grade fixtures. I told the inspector I would meet him at the property. He arrived an hour later in a white county truck. He was a middle-aged guy with a clipboard and a camera. He walked the perimeter. He took photos. He checked the permit records on his tablet. After 20 minutes, he came back to the driveway. I do not see any of the violations listed in the complaint. Your fence line is original. Your driveway is original. Your lights are compliant. Whoever filed this wasted my time. Can you tell me who filed it? It was anonymous. But the complaint came through the HOA portal, so it was probably a board member or a neighbor. Can I get a copy of the complaint? I can email you the case number. You can request the records from our office. Thank you. He left. I requested the records that afternoon. They came back the next day. The complaint had been filed on January 22nd at 11:15 p.m., 3 days after the board meeting. The submission form had an IP address. I forwarded it to Derek. Can you trace the IP? I do not know how. Send it to me. I know a guy. I sent it. Derek called me back that night. The IP belongs to the management company office network. Whoever filed it did it from inside the building. Vanessa has access to that network. She is communications director. Exactly. She filed a bogus code complaint to harass you. That is abuse of process. Save the records. If she tries anything else, you file a restraining order. A restraining order? Yeah. If she is filing false complaints and weaponizing county resources, that is harassment. A judge will shut her down. I did not want to go to court. I wanted this to end. But I also knew Derek was right. Vanessa was escalating, and she was not going to stop until someone forced her to. I added the code enforcement records to my folder, and I waited for the Monday board meeting. The meeting was at Michael's house. It was a closed session, board members only, but Michael had agreed to let me attend as a witness. I arrived at 7. Susan and David were already there. Vanessa was not. Michael called her 3 times. She did not answer. At 7:15, he started the meeting without her. We are here to vote on the removal of Vanessa Barnes from the board due to conflicts of interest, unauthorized billing, and abuse of authority. Susan, do you want to present the findings? I finished the audit. I found 32 instances of double-billed legal fees totaling $17,200. I also found 8 instances where Vanessa approved vendor contracts without disclosing family or financial relationships. The landscaping contract was her brother-in-law. The snow removal contract was a company her husband has a stake in. The lock vendor was her cousin. None of these were disclosed. All of them were approved without competitive bids. That is a clear violation of the conflict policy. David, do you have anything to add? I reviewed the meeting attendance logs. The November meeting did not have a valid quorum because Vanessa voted on her brother-in-law's contract without recusing herself. That means every vote from that meeting is void. I also found that she has been issuing fines and fees outside of meetings without board approval. The bylaws require a vote for any fine over $50. She has issued fines up to $500 on her own authority. Alex, do you have anything? I have evidence that Vanessa filed a false code enforcement complaint against my property last week. The IP trace shows it came from the management office network, and she is the only board member with after-hours access. I also have a video from my neighbor showing Vanessa photographing my property and measuring my driveway without permission. I believe she was trying to fabricate a new violation. Do you have the video? Yes. I can play it. I pulled out my phone and I played Rita's video. Michael watched it. His jaw tightened. This is harassment. She is stalking a resident. She also threatened me at the last meeting. She said I would regret challenging her. She said she was not done. I heard her. We all did. I moved to remove Vanessa Barnes from the board effective immediately for cause, including conflicts of interest, unauthorized billing, false code complaints, and harassment of residents. I second. All in favor? 3 hands. Michael looked at me. It is done. We are going to send a letter to the management company tonight, removing her access to all systems. We are also going to refer the billing fraud to the state attorney's office. What happens to her? That depends on the state. If they find evidence of criminal fraud, they will file charges. If not, it is a civil matter and residents can sue for damages. Will you? The association will not, but individual residents might. If people paid fees they did not owe, they have standing. I thanked him. I left and I drove home. I felt the tension drain. Vanessa was off the board. Her access was revoked. The fake fees were gone. My account was clear. I had won. But I also knew she still had the emails she had threatened. She still had records. And she still had a motive to cause damage. She tried one more time. On Thursday, I got a group email. It went to the entire neighborhood. The subject line was Urgent Community Safety Alert. The body of the email said there had been reports of aggressive and threatening behavior by a resident on Cypress Lane and that the board was investigating. It did not mention my name, but it described my truck and my address. It said residents should avoid contact and report any suspicious activity to management. It was signed by Vanessa Barnes, Communications Director. I screenshot the email and I forwarded it to Michael. She does not have access anymore. I do not know how she sent that. Can you retract it? I will send a correction. But the damage is done. Everyone saw it. I called Derek. That is defamation. She just accused you of being dangerous in a mass email. You can sue her personally. I do not want to sue. I just want her to stop. Then you file a restraining order. You have the emails. You have the video. You have the code complaint. A judge will see the pattern and shut her down. How fast can I get a hearing? Depends on the county. Maybe a week. Maybe 2. She will do more damage by then. Probably. But once you file, she is on notice. If she contacts you again, she is violating the order and she goes to jail. I filed the petition that afternoon. I attached the emails. I attached the video. I attached the code enforcement records. I requested a temporary order pending the hearing. The clerk said I would get a response within 3 business days. I drove home, and I waited. The response came on Monday. The judge had granted a temporary restraining order prohibiting Vanessa from contacting me directly or indirectly, from filing complaints or reports about me, and from entering my property. The order was valid for 14 days, with a full hearing scheduled for February 5th. I got the order served that afternoon. The process server found Vanessa at her house and handed her the paperwork. She called me 10 minutes later. I did not answer. She left a voicemail. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life. I am going to fight this, and I am going to win. And when I do, I am going to make sure you lose everything. Your house, your truck, your brother's care. All of it." I saved the voicemail. I forwarded it to my attorney. I had hired a lawyer over the weekend, a guy named Paul who specialized in HOA disputes and civil harassment. He listened to the voicemail and he called me back. "She just violated the restraining order. That call is indirect contact, and it is threatening. I am filing a motion to hold her in contempt." "What does that mean?" "It means she goes in front of the judge and explains why she should not be arrested. If the judge agrees she violated the order, she can be fined or jailed." "Will that stop her?" "It should. Most people calm down once they realize the court is watching." The contempt hearing was scheduled for January 31st, 4 days before the main hearing. I showed up at the courthouse at 9 a.m. Vanessa was already there with her own attorney, a woman in a gray suit. The judge called the case and Paul played the voicemail. The judge listened. Her face did not change. When it finished, she looked at Vanessa. "Did you leave this message?" "Yes, Your Honor." But I was upset. He filed a false restraining order, and I reacted emotionally. "The order prohibits contact. You called him 10 minutes after you were served. That is not emotional. That is deliberate." I did not threaten him. I was expressing frustration. "You said you were going to make sure he lost his house and his brother's care. That is a threat. The order is clear. No contact. You violated it." "Your Honor, my client was not aware of the full scope of the order at the time of the call." She was served in person. The order was explained. Ignorance is not an excuse. I am finding her in contempt. The fine is $500. If she contacts the petitioner again before the hearing, I will issue a warrant. Vanessa's face went white. Her attorney whispered something to her. The judge banged the gavel and we were dismissed. I walked out into the hallway. Paul was smiling. "That went well. She is on a leash now. If she tries anything, she goes to jail." "What about the main hearing?" "We are in good shape. We have the emails. We have the video. We have the code complaint. We have the voicemail. The pattern is clear. The judge will extend the order." "For how long?" "Probably a year. Maybe permanent if Vanessa keeps it up." I left the courthouse and I drove to a job site. I had a furnace replacement scheduled in a commercial building downtown. I worked through lunch. I did not check my phone until 3. When I did, I had 6 missed calls from Michael and 2 from Rita. I called Michael first. "Vanessa filed a countersuit. She is suing you for defamation, tortious interference, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. She is asking for $50,000. "What?" "Her attorney filed it this morning. She claims you made false statements at the board meeting and caused her to lose her position." Everything I said was true. I have the documents. "I know. Paul called me. He says it is a slap suit. She is trying to intimidate you into dropping the restraining order." "What is a slap suit?" "Strategic lawsuit against public participation. It is when someone sues you to shut you up. Most states have anti-SLAP laws. Paul says you can file a motion to dismiss and recover your attorney fees." "How long does that take?" "A few months. But Paul says the suit is garbage. No judge is going to side with her. What do I do in the meantime? You show up to the hearing on the 5th and you let the judge see what she is doing. The countersuit is evidence of retaliation. It helps your case. I called Rita next. Alex, I am so sorry. Vanessa came to my door this morning. She told me I needed to delete the video I sent you or she would file a trespass complaint against me. Did you delete it? No. I told her to leave. But she is going around the neighborhood telling people you are suing the HOA and costing everyone money. She is trying to turn people against you. I am not suing the HOA. I am restraining her. I know. But she is lying. And people are believing her. Can you send me a statement about her visit? Yeah. I will write it up tonight. She sent the statement the next morning. I gave it to Paul. He added it to the file. The hearing was 4 days away and I was ready. I had every email, every invoice, every recording, every witness statement. I had the trump card and I had waited for the right audience because the reveal needed witnesses. Now the witnesses were locked in. The judge was watching. The board was watching. The neighborhood was watching. And Vanessa was cornered. The hearing was at 10 a.m. on February 5th. I met Paul in the courthouse lobby at 9:30. We went through the evidence one more time. He told me to stay calm, answer the judge's questions, and let him handle the legal arguments. We walked into the courtroom at 9:50. Vanessa was already seated with her attorney. She did not look at me. The judge entered at 10. We stood. The judge sat and we sat. She reviewed the file for a minute. Then she looked up. This is a petition for a permanent restraining order. Mr. Brennan, you are alleging harassment and abuse of process by the respondent, who is a member of your homeowners association board. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. We have documented a pattern of retaliatory conduct including false billing, false code complaints, threats, and defamatory communications. Ms. Barnes, you filed a countersuit alleging defamation. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Brennan made false statements at a public board meeting that damaged my client's reputation and caused her removal from the board. What statements? He accused her of fraud and double billing without evidence. Mr. Brennan, do you have evidence? Yes, Your Honor. We have invoices from the HOA's law firm showing that legal fees were billed to the association's general fund, but the same fees were then charged to individual resident accounts. We also have emails from Ms. Barnes admitting that she reallocated costs without board votes. Paul handed the binder to the bailiff. The judge took it and she flipped through the tabs. She stopped at the highlighted invoice page. She read for a long time. Then, she looked at Vanessa's attorney. Counselor, your client charged residents for legal fees that were already paid by the association? The fees were categorized appropriately based on the nature of the consultations. That is not what I asked. Did the law firm bill the association, or did they bill the residents? They billed the association, but the costs were related to individual disputes, so my client allocated them accordingly. Without board authorization? She had the authority to manage billing communications. Managing communications is not the same as creating charges. Did the board vote to charge these residents? The board delegated enforcement authority to my client. That does not answer the question. Did the board vote? Yes or no? Not on each individual charge, but they voted to give her discretion. Show me the resolution. Vanessa's attorney opened her briefcase. She pulled out a single page and she handed it to the bailiff. The judge read it. Her expression did not change. This resolution says the communications director has authority to issue violation notices and coordinate with legal counsel. It does not say she can charge residents for legal fees without board votes. Mr. Brennan, did the board vote to charge you specifically? No, Your Honor. The board actually voted to remove the charges after I disputed them. But Ms. Barnes ignored the vote and sent the charges to a collections attorney anyway. Do you have proof of that? Yes, Your Honor. We have the board meeting minutes and the email from Ms. Barnes to the law firm. Paul handed over the second exhibit. The judge read it. She set it down, and she looked at Vanessa. Ms. Barnes, you continued collection efforts after the board voted to remove the charges? The board was wrong. The charges were valid. That is not your decision to make. The board is the governing body. If they vote to remove a charge, it is removed. You do not get to override them. I was protecting the association's interests. You were protecting your interests. You filed a false code complaint. You sent defamatory emails. You threatened the petitioner and his family. That is harassment. The restraining order is granted for 3 years. You are prohibited from contacting Mr. Brennan, entering his property, or filing any complaints or reports about him. If you violate this order, you will be arrested. Vanessa stood up. Her voice cracked. This is a witch hunt. He manipulated the board. He lied about the invoices. The invoices are public record. He did not lie. You did. Sit down. Vanessa sat. Her attorney put a hand on her arm. The judge looked at Paul. Counselor, file a motion to dismiss the countersuit under the anti-SLAPP statute. I will grant it. Ms. Barnes, you are ordered to pay Mr. Brennan's attorney fees. The amount will be determined at a follow-up hearing. We are adjourned. The gavel banged. I stood up. My legs felt weak. Paul shook my hand. You did great. She is done. What about the $50,000 suit? It is gone. The judge is dismissing it. And she is making Vanessa pay your legal bills. How much will that be? Probably $5,000 or $6,000. I will send her the invoice. I walked out of the courtroom. Vanessa was in the hallway with her attorney. She looked at me. Her eyes were red. She did not say anything. I kept walking. The state attorney filed charges 3 weeks later. Vanessa was charged with filing a false instrument, a third-degree felony, for creating fake board resolutions and submitting them to the management company to justify unauthorized fees. She was also charged with official misconduct for abusing her position as a board officer. The HOA board issued a statement distancing itself from her actions and promising full restitution to affected residents. Michael took over as acting communications director until the April election. Susan completed the audit, and the association issued refunds totaling $18,400. 17 residents got checks. I got mine in March. It was $973, the exact amount Vanessa had tried to steal with the fake delinquency claim. Vanessa pleaded no contest in May. She was sentenced to 2 years probation, 300 hours of community service, and restitution of $21,000 to cover the refunds and the legal costs the association incurred defending against her actions. The plea agreement also banned her from holding any HOA board position in the state of Florida for 10 years. The case made the local news. A reporter interviewed me in my driveway. I kept it short. I said I was glad the system worked, and I encouraged other residents to document everything if they ever faced similar abuses. The story ran the next day with a headline about HOA fraud and resident pushback. The snow melted by mid-March. The neighborhood slowly returned to normal. The board held the April election and 2 new members were seated. I did not run. I had no interest in board politics. I just wanted to live in peace and take care of my brother and do my job. But I kept the folder. I kept every email, every invoice, every statement, every recording. I kept it all in a file cabinet in my garage, just in case. Because I learned that the rules only protect you if you are willing to fight for them. And I learned that people like Vanessa count on you not fighting. They count on you being tired, or scared, or too busy to push back. They count on you paying the fee and moving on. But the moment you stop moving, the moment you stand still and you say no, the whole house of cards falls. And when it does, make sure you have witnesses. I waited for the right audience, because the reveal needed witnesses. I got my witnesses. I got my win. And I got my peace.